Well, hello everybody. Good evening. It's great to see you all. I see some of my favorite people on this call right now. So it's great to be with everyone. Hope everybody has had a great day and feeling mindful right now. Maybe you're not, because I know sometimes when we start these calls, maybe you feel a little anxious, right? Because you're seeing other people for, the first time in the day, and it's like you're on a video call and you're maybe worried about how other people are looking at you right now. I don't know. Hey, but sometimes when we start these calls, it can feel a little weird. And maybe we're coming from something else right now. Maybe we're just finishing work. Maybe we just finished eating dinner. Maybe we just finished getting in a fight with our significant other. I hope not, but it could have happened. So I just want to invite you now to be present, be here with me and all of us right now. Take a deep breath, release, and do it one more. Take a deep breath and release. And just relax and enjoy and be present here with us. So I'm excited for everyone to be here. And today we're going to get into mindfulness in everyday life. So we're going to be going over mindful walking and mindful eating. So a lot of times people think of meditation and mindfulness as something that you have to sit down, close your eyes, and just focus on your breath and try to eliminate as many thoughts as you possibly can. But in reality, there's many different types of meditations, and two of my favorite ones is mindful eating because I just enjoy eating, and mindful walking because I do have ADHD. Sometimes I'm not in that mode where I can just sit down. Like I'm in that mode where I have to be moving. So mindful walking is a great option to help me feel grounded, get present in the moment when my thoughts are a little bit scattered and all over the place, and really center my attention. And how many times are we just rushing from place to place? Do you ever find yourself rushing? Anyone here? Right? I just got to get to that next place. Me too, all the time. And this is a great practice. Again, this is a practice. So we can't get good at something if we don't practice it. So with practice, over time, what will happen is when we get into that mode of rush, 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 we can then get into that. Our brains will automatically just react in that moment, and then when we're walking, we'll be able to refocus our attention on the moment. So it's conditioning our brains. We're conditioning our brains. And then with mindful eating, same thing, right? How many times do we just gobble down that meal and it tastes delicious for a second, right? But that's all it lasted was just a quick second. And I have to admit, I have a sweet tooth. I love sweets. So, and sometimes I'm guilty of just eating too fast, too much. I mean, I can eat a whole plate of chocolate chip cookies like it's nothing. But you really just have to, like, I have to slow down and remind myself to enjoy that bite. So we're really going to learn how to slow down and be mindful with our eating. So I just want to remind you all, some of us might be on here for the first time, but mindfulness is really about being fully present and focused on the here and now. So rather than getting caught up in all of our worries, the past, right? Some of us might have some real pain and burdens, and it's not to eliminate that. It's not to say like, hey, that doesn't exist, right? That is real. But sometimes we get so caught up in the narrative and that those memories that we have that we really lose the present, right? The miracle of the here and the now. And this allows us to be more connected and more centered. And this is going to help us calm the mind. The rumination of the mind is what causes the most stress. So when we're not in the present moment and we're thinking, that's actually when we are our least happiest. Okay? So by practicing mindfulness, it's going to allow us to recenter our attention into the present moment when we catch ourselves in that state of rumination. And rather than thinking, oh my gosh, I'm having these terrible thoughts, right? It's really without judgment. So, how do we learn to view our thoughts without judging it as good or bad? So, it's really cultivating this mindfulness and making sure that we're aware of our thoughts. And when we have that stinking thinking, we can pull ourselves right back into the present moment. Um, all right, so getting into mindful walking and really the what and the why. So mindful walking is the practice of walking, figure that, right? With full awareness of each step and breath. So it's really simple, but this is also really powerful. So this is probably not like, walking that you're normally doing on a daily basis. But really on the physical side, the benefits that this is going to provide you is it's going to help you with fitness, right? Because we're getting into a mode of walking. On the more important side, I think, is the mental and emotional side of this. We're not really doing it for the physical side of it per se, although that can be really beneficial. But this is on the mental emotional side, this is really going to help us feel grounded, okay, in the present moment, grounding us and helping us to relieve stress. Because we can get so caught up in the next appointment and the next thing we have to do, or the argument we just had, or all the problems that really exist in our life. And when we're so hyper focused on the next thing or all the problems we have in our life, it's taking away from what's just happening right now, what we can just notice right now and be okay with it. Be okay with what's happening right now. Be okay with the emotions that are happening right now. So we can do mindful walking anywhere. That's the great thing about it as well. It can be done in nature, you can do it in your neighborhood, or you can just do it in your room right now. And the goal of it is to cultivate a greater sense of presence and connection in our daily lives. So we're walking every day, we're moving every day, But how many times are we really centering ourselves into the present moment, feeling connected and grounded, right? If you had to take a, measurement of your day, how much of your day do you really feel connected and grounded in the present moment? Like 20%, 50%, 80%? No. I saw a lot of like this on the 20%. So think about that though, right? Like we're 20% of the time we're really centered and grounded in the present moment. The rest of the time we're like up here in our thoughts. And as we've discussed in previous sessions, we have about 6,000 thoughts a day, on average 6 to 8 thoughts a minute. So with mindful walking, right, we're always walking, we're always going somewhere. So this is a great practice that we can use on a daily basis if we don't feel like sitting on the cushion, if we feel like we're just in that antsy state of being and we just can't sit down and the thoughts feel too busy. Well, this is a great place to get in where we can move a little bit and not sit down, but still feel grounded and center ourselves in the moment. So I'm just going to kind of quickly go over how you actually do mindful walking. So number one is to plant your feet on the ground, of course. So you got to stand up. Um, and then the really most important thing is to notice the sensations in your feet. Okay, so as you're walking, right, I'm just going to try to demonstrate this. Imagine this is the ground here, and this is your heel. So the palm of my hand is my heel right now for demonstration purposes. So as I'm walking, rather than just a normal walking pattern, right, you're really going to slow it down, and you really want to feel the muscles as you step. You want to feel it in your heel. You want to feel it in the middle of your sole. You want to feel it through your toes as you're walking. And you almost want to walk like this very slow walk, right? So it's like heel to toe, heel to toe. And you're in no rush whatsoever. And you're going to continue this very slow walking, feeling the muscle movements in your feet while also breathing slow, breathing normally, but breathing sort of slow and really paying attention to your breath. So as you're paying attention to your feet, you're also feeling that lung expansion as well. And then starting to notice and observe kind of the sights and sounds around you, really bringing yourself into that present moment and being fully engaged into your environment around you. So observing as well. But what you're going to do is you're going to find about 5 feet. Okay, so if you have a room, that's perfect. I have about 5 feet right here to my closet. And all you're going to do is you're going to walk back and forth. So it's a bit of a pacing, if you will. And you're just going to walk back and forth very, very slowly. Okay. And again, anchoring ourselves. I do encourage you, if you're wearing socks or if you're wearing shoes, socks is fine. If you have cold feet, that's okay. But I would say take off the shoes if you're wearing shoes. If you have any kind of like foot condition and it's better to wear shoes, I encourage you to keep wearing your shoes, please. But if you can take off your shoes and really feel grounded on the ground, it's a better way to approach mindful walking. So, with that said, we are going to do a small practice now. So, I have a 5-minute timer here. This is a silent timer. Okay, so for those who have attended before, you might be familiar with how this timer works. It has a nice little bell in the beginning, and then at 2.5 minutes, it has another bell. So, in the halfway mark, it has another bell. So, as we're doing our practice, you know when we're at the halfway mark. And then when we get to the very end, it'll chime a few times. Okay, so I want you to just understand, if you're not familiar with this chime or bell, it has one chime that starts in the beginning, then it has a chime in the middle, then it has chimes at the end. Okay, and we're going to just be walking, pick about a 5 foot distance in your room or wherever you're at. And remember, you're just walking very slowly, feeling every muscle from your heel to your toe. And you want to feel that expansion in your lungs as well. Be present, be aware of your environment and what is happening. So I just want take a few seconds right now, prepare yourself for mindful walking, and we're going to get started here in just a few seconds. Whenever you hear this first chime, if you feel more comfortable with your camera off, feel free to turn your camera off. If you want to keep your camera on, feel free to keep your camera on. All right, just take a deep breath, get settled in. Here we go.
You put a little extra salt in your bird, you don't have to use so much salt. But salt something in there, the salt in the kitchen.
All right, everybody can come back from the mindful walking. Hope everyone enjoyed that experience. Your Jennifer's audio is not working. Um, Sometimes if you look at the bottom where it says audio, Jennifer, there's an arrow button, and sometimes you're on the wrong speaker. So try to maybe look at that if you can. Um, can the rest of you hear me okay? All right, perfect. Awesome. I'd love to just hear maybe one or two people's experience with mindful walking. Did anyone find themselves first? When you were mindfully walking, did you ever catch yourself like walking fast or like faster than maybe you wanted to? Yeah. I mean, I caught myself doing that. I don't know if anyone else did. But I'd love to hear, how was your guys' experience? Would one, maybe two people share?
Yeah, I'll start us off. First of all, yeah, caught myself going a little too fast. And then even my first two steps, I felt myself being like unbalanced, like almost kind of awkward, like I could fall over.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, that's it. That is really interesting of like when you actually really focus on the art of walking, right? Like you don't normally have to think about it, right? So just having to think about it is like a new experience in of itself. Appreciate you sharing. Awesome. Well, we're gonna keep moving it forward. Appreciate you sharing. Thank you so much. Hope everyone enjoyed that mindful walking. And I just encourage you to keep practicing mindful walking because, we're walking, everywhere throughout the day. So if we can slow down and really use that as an anchor to be present in the moment, we can find ourselves maybe in simmering down, moving from situation to situation. We can use that, sometimes what might just be like zoning out, and now we can sort of zone in to the present moment, right? So using that as a calming mechanism, rather than just something where we can let our thoughts ruminate and get the best of us and move into that next thing with those thoughts still there, with that feeling still with us, right? Sometimes we go from work to family life and we're carrying all of that with us, right? And if we can just use the mindful walk as maybe, that separation from whatever we're doing to the next thing, that could be a good anchor for us. Or even if we just catch ourselves in the middle of the day, maybe if you work at home or you work at a desk for a long time and you've been sitting for a long time, and maybe sitting is the last thing you want to do, going outdoors and just going for a nature walk, but doing it in a mindful walking way, right? Where you're not in a rush, you're going very slow, and you're really feeling that sensations in your feet and in your body. So we're now going to go from walking to eating. And really, this sets us up to really connect walking and eating because these are things that we're doing on a daily basis. So, the pyramid structure here highlights four key elements, which are presence, awareness, intention, and connection. So, presence, this is really all about being fully immersed in the current moment, not being distracted by the past, and it's not being distracted by the future. And then we have awareness, which this really is closely observing all of the sensations, all of the thoughts, all of the environment in the present. So then we have intention, which this is really referring to the purpose and mindset we bring to intentions. I catch myself all the time in some stinking thinking, and I'm like, whoa, where did that thought come from? And I have to rewire my thinking towards loving kindness. And I'll just throughout the day say, may I be happy, may I be healthy, may I be safe, may I be loved. But even while I'm eating, right, it's that time where I can recenter, re anchor, and just really be in the moment, not allowing my thoughts to get the best of me. So, this intention, like going into mindful eating, going into our meals with the intention of being grounded, of being present. This is going to help us slow down and not be so overwhelmed sometimes, right? And hey, we all experience it. We all have feelings, we all have emotions. We're going to get overwhelmed sometimes. We're going to have feelings, we're going to have fights, right? But this is a tool again, it's a tool, and we're going to condition our brains over time so we can use this tool and really bring it in to our lives. So when we come and sit down for a meal, it's not, something where we're just trying to gobble something down, but it can be with intention to bring us into the moment and ground us. So both walking and eating really require this full mindful engagement in the present moment. So now getting into the what and why of mindful eating. So mindful eating is the practice of eating with full awareness and attention, and it's really about being fully present during the meal. So paying attention to the taste, the texture, the smell, and oddly enough, the sound of your food, right? Sometimes there's like, you ever hear Rice Krispies? That popping sound. It also means like being conscious of like our hunger cues and our fullness singles. I mean, I'm sure we might have all heard it takes 20 minutes to feel full, right? But sometimes we eat so fast, we don't feel that feeling and we might overeat. And I'm sure we've all had that feeling of being too full and, maybe eating a little bit too much than we should have. I know I have. And that can be really uncomfortable. So by really learning to slow down our eating, this over time we can condition our brains to really avoid some of these things as we're eating. And this can lead to better digestion. So again, highlighting the connection between mindfulness and our eating habits by slowing down, the digestion is actually happening in our mouth. So we have enzymes in our mouth, which starts breaking down the food. So digestion doesn't actually start in the stomach, it starts in the mouth. So by slowing our eating down, we can better digest our food. So by the time it does get into our stomach, it's easier to process. Um, so we're really giving our body the time and focus to slow down to properly digest. So again, we're going to reduce overeating just because we're going to give our brains enough time to catch up with our stomachs because it takes some time for our stomachs to process that food and for our brains to process it. And then creating a new relationship with the food, right? Because some of us, maybe we have a little bit of an unhealthy relationship with food. And again, that's okay. That's okay. But we have to ask ourselves, if is our eating habits healthy? Is it helpful, or could it be a little bit harmful? And that's okay. That's okay, but we can condition ourselves over time with love and kindness to slow down our eating and to create new habits and a new relationship with eating. So I'm excited to jump into this one because I do love eating. And I think most of us do. Who doesn't like some good food, right? Um, So here are really the steps for mindful eating. Number one is pause before eating. So I'm just going to demonstrate this. I have an orange. If you have some food, we're going to be doing a mindful eating exercise. So you'll need some food. Really recommended is a raisin, but any piece of fruit or anything really, a cracker or something you might have, we can use. But you really want to pause. Observe. Then number two is observing the food. And the best illustration I can give you for this is imagine you're an alien. And there's a lot of drones right now flying over New Jersey. I don't know if y'all have seen that, those Instagram reels happening, but imagine you're an alien and you just beamed onto Earth for the first time. And it's the first time you're seeing this. Okay, so imagine it's the first time you're seeing this, like you'd observe it very carefully. And you look at all the intricacies of it. So I want you to take that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take a really small bite, but we're not going to chew. Okay? So at first, we're going to take a bite, but I want you to just let it sit on your tongue. I want you to just notice all the flavors and the textures and notice how your mouth salivates and notice that urge to want to chew. Notice that urge to want to you know, bite and eat and start that digestion process. But again, be aware of those thoughts and try to mindfully avoid eating. And then we're going to start the chewing process, but we're going to chew very slowly. So not it's going to be very slowly, okay? All right. So I hope that made sense. Oops, sorry, jumped ahead a couple of slides there. All right, so we're gonna start our mindful eating practice now. So if you have a raisin, that is like the ideal food. I did not have a raisin, so I took a mandarin and I cut it. But if you have anything, does anyone not have any food? If you're eating a late dinner, this is a perfect time. Um, all right, well, hopefully everybody has a piece of food now. I'm just looking for my phone for a timer since I don't have a timer on my presentation right here. I didn't want you all to get distracted by the timer since this was an activity we'll be doing at the desk or where we're at right now. So hopefully by now you have your piece of food. For 2 minutes, all I want you to do is just pause and observe the food. So if you want to turn off the camera, if this is like a distraction for you, looking at yourself or seeing other people, I would just encourage you maybe turn to the side so you're not looking at the screen, so it doesn't become a distraction. But really, just for 2 minutes, I want you to just again, you're an alien that just beamed down to Earth for the first time, and whatever food you decided to grab, this is the first time you're seeing it. And with fruit, it's a little bit translucent, this mandarin. So as I look at it in the light, I can really see it good. So that looks really cool. So I'm gonna start the time here. We're gonna do 2 minutes of pausing and observing. Then we're gonna do 2 minutes of it just sort of, or we'll do 1 minute of it sitting in our mouth and 1 minute of chewing and engaging in those senses. Okay. So I'm gonna start the timer and just start to look at the different textures of the food, looking at the different ways that the textures come together, the patterns in it, and just getting that sort of curious attitude about it. You might like let it sit in the palm of your hand and maybe kind of look at it from that angle. What does it feel like in your hand? And notice, do you have a feeling and an urge to want to take a bite of the food? Or do you feel like this is taking too long? Noticing those thoughts as they arise. And then again, sort of bringing yourself back to that curiosity of it. That, and that perspective of this as if this is the first time you're seeing it. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and take that bite. But as you take that bite, just let it sort of sit in your mouth. Actually, don't bite. I apologize. Just let it sit in your mouth. And it's gonna sit right there on the tongue. And I just want you to sort of notice. I'm sorry, it's rude to talk with your mouth full of food, but for demonstration purposes, I'm gonna do it here. But just let it sit in your mouth and feel how your mouth starts to salivate. And notice that urge to want to maybe chew, but then just bring yourself into the moment and experience it happening it without having those conclusions or thoughts. Have you felt that urge to want to start chewing yet? We're almost there. Notice the salivation that's coming, right? That's the digestion that's happening, feeling the food breaking down. Now I want you to take that first bite, but very slowly. Notice like the juices coming out of whatever food you might be eating. Maybe that pleasure in getting the bite and you've been holding off on taking that bite. And just noticing now more of that salivation that's happening and more of that desire to want to keep chewing now, right? Or maybe you just keep chewing, right? And now I'm just gonna notice your body and just continue to chew that food and just continue to chew through the process, mindfully chewing slowly, right? And just noticing all the sensations happening in your mouth right now, the pressure of your jaw closing, right? Your tongue and how it feels against the top of your mouth, against your teeth, right? Noticing the salivation that's happening, noticing how the food is digesting in your mouth and starting to break down into smaller and smaller pieces, right? And then I want you to swallow. And I want you to feel that full process of swallowing and the food coming down your throat and how it feels as the throat moves the food down through the throat into your stomach. And that is a small mindful eating practice. So I'd love to hear from someone else and share how they thought that experience was. If you're still chewing, feel free to finish chewing.
It's very interesting the physiological movements that you make while you're trying to be mindful. Like you don't recognize your autonomic like system going off, and when you're mindful, you recognize it.
Hmm.
I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. And how many times do we really slow down to notice those little sensations that are happening in the moment? And when you really think about it, the miracle of what's happening in the moment, like for our bodies to be able to take that food, break it down in our mouths, to start creating that salivation in our mouth is quite a miracle. And, food is a miracle, and it really grounds us in this present moment to have gratitude for the food that we're eating, and hopefully you can see like practicing that over time. Again, doing it one time won't change, but science shows that if we practice for 8 weeks, we begin to recondition the brain with new neural connections. Okay, so we can change the patterns of our brain with practice. So maybe start small. Maybe every time before you eat, just take a minute, 2 minutes, right? And then slowly bringing that food, observing it, noticing it, putting it in your mouth for 10, 20 seconds, but slowing down that process and then slowly chewing, right? So it's something to practice for sure, not something to perfect, but something to practice. So I hope you all enjoyed that. So as we get towards the end of our final session of Mindfulness 101, I just want to encourage you all to overcome the challenges of life because we all face challenges. Tomorrow will have its own set of challenges for sure. But one of the things that prevent a lot of people from doing mindfulness is life is busy. And that's really why I created the Mindful Buddy app, is to really help people create a practice. So whether you're using Mindful Buddy or whether you're not, you can just do 1 minute of mindful breathing, and that is enough. But it's the habit of doing it every day. I always say something is better than nothing. But if you can just do something on a daily basis, over time, it just becomes a habit of doing every day. And then once it becomes that knee-jerk reaction of doing it every day, then you can start adding to it. So then a minute becomes 2 minutes, then 2 minutes becomes 3 minutes, right? But the hardest part is over now. You've developed the habit, right? So don't be critical of yourself if you do 1 minute one day, 5 minutes the next day, 10 minutes the next day, and you're on a good pattern, then you're like, oh, I only did a minute today, right? So no, we're not, it's not a competition with ourselves, but it's really learning to practice to be in the present moment because rumination is proven to make us less happy. Okay, so the more we're in our thoughts, the less we're in the present moment, the less happy we are. And I'm sure we all can experience that. Even if I'm just thinking about something that's not that important or not that doom and gloom, I'm still not as happy as if I'm just in the present moment. Okay, distractions, right? Distractions are easy. Sometimes I'm scrolling on social media and it's like, I don't want to meditate. I don't want to be mindful, right? Sometimes we just want to zone out. And I think that's okay to a certain extent as human beings living in the modern Western world. But I think it's also very important that we create a dedicated space. And that could just, it could be anywhere. It could be in your car. Like as soon as you get in your car, you're going to do 1 minute, or 5 minutes of practice, right? Whatever that is, find a dedicated space where you know it can be quiet and distraction free, and a place where you know it's free of clutter and free of distractions. You know, a place that's relatively clean for the most part and distraction free. I know some of us, we really, some of us love our messes, we really do. And that's okay if that's what you like. But I would just say, if the less clutter we have, the less distractions we have, the more clear our minds will be. Um, and then forgetfulness. So with the Mindful Buddy app, I hope that it will help remind people. So, but if you don't have Mindful Buddy, not using Mindful Buddy, I use Google Calendar too. There's plenty of apps out there that can remind you. Sticky notes, good old sticky notes. Put them on the computer. Write it on your mirror. Get a dry erase marker, put it on your mirror, practice mindfulness, take a breath, right? But if we don't put it in front of us, right, we're just going to keep living our lives, rushing from one thing, rushing to the next thing, trying to chase the next goal, right? And ultimately, that doesn't truly bring us fulfillment. Fulfillment and being in this moment right now is where we're going to truly be the happiest, right? Nothing in the future, nothing in the past is going to fill whatever void we have in this moment, right? But just being in this moment is a true gift in itself. That's why they call it the present, right? It's a true gift, right? But it's our thinking that keeps us there, right? It's our thinking that keeps us into, feeling feelings, right? And feelings are okay. It's okay to have negative feelings. But I just want to encourage you all to practice mindfulness because we can be with our feelings without judgment. And that's a different thing, right? It's a different experience to be with your feelings when we're not judging them as good or bad, and we can just sit with them. Okay? So I hope you all enjoyed this session. Some key takeaways is consistency is really the crucial thing that's going to help you get the benefits of this over time. So you can't really practice. It's just like going to the gym or any kind of diet. You're not really going to experience the benefits if you don't stick with it consistently, I would say. And look, if you're someone who's having a hard time with consistency, hopefully you can join our WhatsApp group and we can help you with that. Um, so the best thing is to do when starting a mindful practice, just to start small, and this is really anything in life, is to start small and make it manageable, but really building the habit, right? So finding consistent time in your day, finding a consistent place in your life, like in your house or in your car or where you work, where you can go every day, and it's that reminder to be mindful. And then we can take that throughout our life, like mindfully walking the dog or mindfully petting the dog, right? Really feeling the fur of your cat. I see Lisa has the cat right now. Um, Mindfully washing dishes, mindfully folding the laundry, right? One thing I really don't like to do is laundry, right? But I can ruminate and like before I do the laundry, I'm like, I hate the laundry. I don't want to do the laundry, the laundry. Why the laundry, right? But again, I'm just, those thoughts are ruminating in my head. And when I just go and do the laundry and I take a deep breath and I feel grateful for having clothes and I'm glad that I have clean clothes and I'm glad that I have clean water and I'm glad that I have all these things to be able to have clean clothes and I'm just in the present moment, changing my perspective towards loving kindness, it adds a new element onto the daily task of everyday life, right? Because we all have to live life. We all have to walk. We all have to eat. We all have to wash our clothes, hopefully, right? But we can do it with the rumination and all those thoughts and all the things rushing from one thing to the next, or we can do it grounded, feeling present. Um, all right, so if you want to join our community, this is a QR code. If you're on a phone right now and you can't scan this QR code, I would just, you can screenshot this if you know how to screenshot. I hope. Um, and if you, I see Maria wants to know how to get the Buddy app. We are beta testing it right now, and you can join the WhatsApp group, and I'll reach out to you. I'm the admin of the group, so I'll see the requests come in if you can join the WhatsApp group. You can also just email me here. I'll put my email down in the bottom for you. You can email me there, Maria, if you would like. Support@mindfulbuddy.ai, and I'll help you get set up. Just a really quick announcement. I am launching our Kickstarter in January. Don't want to hit this too hard, but I've invested a lot into the Mindful Buddy app. So whoever wants to support us, support the journey, would love you to support our Kickstarter app or Kickstarter in January. And with that said, that is the end of our session. So I appreciate you all spending Wednesday with me. I hope you all gained some value from tonight's session. Hope you all can go into tomorrow's day mindfully walking and mindfully eating and being a little bit more present in the moment. So hope you all have a mindful evening. Thank you for joining me. Sending you all love, kindness, and a big hug.
Thank you, Jeremy.
All right, y'all. Take care. Bye now.